PSI TV helps the small business have a big presence by making TV affordable. On-demand streaming channels and platforms like Apple TV, Amazon, Roku, we bring the content to you. So if you have a passionate message or a solution to a problem and you want to reach and impact a new and expansive audience, PSI TV may just be the place for you. Well, today I have another player in her niche. She is a big fish in her pond. We have Pattie Plugh, and she is the ESOP Evangelist. Pattie launched Excel Legacy Group to assist business owners prepare for retirement or exiting their business in a dignified way. In addition, protecting their legacy, business culture, and their trusted employees. Pattie, it's my pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, Trudy.
Awesome. Pattie, just remind the audience, what does ESOP stand for?
It stands for Employee Stock Ownership Plan.
Employee Stock Ownership Plan. Okay, so Pattie, why would a business even want to consider an ESOP business model?
Well, it's basically what you're doing is you're selling your company to your employees through a retirement benefit. So the company actually buys the stock from the shareholders, and there's a trustee that's put in place that oversees the stock, and it's allocated then to the employees, which are now employee owners or shareholders. So basically, if you want to reward those that helped you to build your company, and that's what we did. We actually, in 2020, sold our company to an ESOP to our employees. I can tell you I've been in business, selling businesses, building business, and running businesses for 30 years. And this has been my most rewarding moment, is selling my company to my employees and having them take it over and grow it from there versus a third party.
So you personally did an ESOP on your business, but you also help other executives do the same with their business.
That's exactly right. After I was going through the ESOP process with my own company, I found out that there's only my lack of knowledge is, for the majority, a lot of business owners' lack of knowledge, and that's the benefits of creating an ESOP. I had 5 partners, 6 including myself, and none of us knew anything more about an ESOP than it is an employee ownership situation, a company owned by employees. And when we found out what the benefits were for both shareholders and employees alike, we decided that this was the choice for our company, Helix. And so during that process, finding out we didn't know, I found out there's many business owners that are not educated on ESOPs, and they've been around since the 1950s, and there's still a lack of education about them. And so I decided that I would launch Excel Legacy Group so that I could help other business owners transition, first of all, educate them on the benefits, and then help them transition their company or companies to their employees. There's only 6,500 ESOPs in the United States, and there's about 33 million businesses. So I would say that the word needs to get out there, wouldn't you, Tracy? Or I'm sorry, Trudy?
No, I agree. And I was aware of them. Just, I think the other part of the message you need to get out is why a business would want to consider it. So it's not, I don't know that I'd necessarily agree with you that people aren't aware they exist. but why they should bother to be a part of something like that. So I definitely was aware. I know of one or two companies that are, but I never crossed my mind to consider something like that. It never came across like it's something for me. So let me ask you this, Patty. Would this mean if somebody said, yes, this sounds like something I would want to at least be open to a conversation on? Does it mean that if they agree to it, they have to change their corporate structure? The reason why I ask is because I know that when you're setting up your business, you declare the stock ownership at that time, and you know, like your 100%, or you know how many stocks in millions, whatever. And do you have to now restructure to accommodate the share selling to these many people?
Well, you have to be a corporate structure that has corporate stock. So in other words, I'll give you a couple examples. C Corp, S Corps are perfect examples. But that shouldn't stop you from creating an ESOP, because you can easily change your company, your corporate structure. So again, that shouldn't stop you. For instance, LLCs have members, they don't have corporate stock. So that would be an example of a company that would need to change to either a C Corp or an S Corp. Now there's the benefits. Let me touch on the benefits, because you had asked if, why would you do it?
No, hold on. Before I get to the benefits, the reason why I ask is it's been a while, but I believe that as I'm a C Corp, when we set up, I think we said we had 100 shares, for example. We didn't say a million, we didn't say 10 million, we said 100, of which it's broken down just between the owners of the company. So it's not like we have it available for the market.
Original shareholder can stay on. They don't, like in most third parties.
Okay. I misunderstood. So you're not saying that the employee who's become a shareholder can stay on. It's the original owner having disseminated the shares. They can stay on without necessarily being active. Got you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I got it.
They can stay on and in control of their company, oversee their company. If they just want to be on the board, they can do that. That was my decision. There were 6 partners at Helix. 4 of them are on the board. 2 decided to retire totally. And one of them decided to stay on in his position in the company. And that's another benefit. This ESOPs can be custom designed per shareholder. So it's not a one size fits all for, it has to be just one way for every shareholder. You can customize the transaction per shareholder if it's a company with multiple shareholders like we were. So let me move on to the next benefit. If you structure your transaction correctly, it's possible to defer your capital gains tax indefinitely by setting up an ESOP. The shareholders can literally defer their capital gains indefinitely. Next benefit, by doing an ESOP transaction, selling 100% of your shares to the ESOP, and that's what we did, the company can become a tax-free entity. So in other words, it can function just like a 501c3, but it's a for-profit business. So you don't pay corporate taxes anymore. The next benefit is an ESOP is a windfall retirement benefit for the employees that became shareholders. So like a 401k, with a 401k, the retirement plan invests in other companies' stocks. With the ESOP, the stocks that are invested are the actual company stocks themselves. And now, if you remember, I just said that you become a tax-free entity, right? So let's just say for every $1 million that your company makes, you pay about $350,000 in taxes, right? Those taxes now are going to the bottom line on the balance sheet. At first, those monies are used to pay the shareholders out because the company buys the shareholders. And then there's a vesting period for the retirement fund for the employees. So it can be 3 to 6 years vesting. And that retirement fund, if you can imagine, just if the company didn't grow at all, but that for every million the company made, there's $350,000 going to the bottom line that normally would have gone with a for-profit company for taxes. That's going to the bottom line now, feeding the retirement fund or feeding whatever you want to do with the company. So there's a company in my backyard that has been an ESOP for many years. A new president came along, purchased 5 other companies, turned them into ESOPs, and now there's 4 other companies. Now there's 5 companies in total. That was a $25 million company that is now a $100 million company. So you can imagine, and that company was a ESOP for many years, so the shareholders have been paid out long ago. You can imagine if you are a shareholder in that company and the retirement fund is based on those company shares going from 25 million to 100 million, you can imagine what that does to your retirement fund, depending on the shares that have been allocated to the new employee shareholders. So that is a huge benefit for the employees. In addition to that, the employees are allowed to defer their income tax on that retirement fund until later in life when they're at a lower income level. So you have the ability as the employee shareholder to defer that income tax. Now let's talk about the last benefit, which is called the second bite of the apple. So remember when I said about selling 100% of the shares. Now this second bite takes anywhere from 30% to 100% of the shares being sold, okay? And most ESOPs are owner financed, or they get bank financing, or it's a combination of both. With the bank finance or with the owner financing, the owners, the original shareholders, receive warrants in exchange for being the bank, okay? And during that loan process, say it's 5 years that the company took out a loan to pay out the shareholders. During those 5 years, those warrants can be traded in after that 5-year period, and those actually can be traded in for shares that came back to the company from employees that transitioned out of the company during that 5-year period. Typically, you see around 30 to 40% of the shares coming back to the original shareholders. Those shares can be resold to the company at their current value. So remember the company that I said that was worth 25 and now worth 100 million? The original shareholders can resell their company again, so they literally can sell their company twice. Wow. With the second bite of the apple. Now, there's 2 parts of the second bite of the apple. That's the shareholder benefit. The employee benefit, or the management team benefit, or family benefit it's called the management incentive plan. It's a non-qualified management incentive plan that when you set up the ESOP, you put a percentage in that fund. And you can allocate that to your management team, to family members, if you're a family business and you transition to an ESOP, to anybody you really want in the company. So in other words, you've got a team that's building your business, okay? You can allocate shares to that individual. And again, just like the shares that the owners get back, these employees also can cash in these shares for actual cash.
Wow.
At that.
I want to tell you, I'm totally impressed. I'm glad we're having this chat, Patty. I really, really am. I really.
Now you know why I need to get the word out there.
Yes.
People have about as much knowledge as you did. They don't know about all this. And to be honest with you, Trudy, I am a woman of faith. And we have talked before, and you have said to me before in a conversation, you should figure out a way to help other business owners. And this was an inspired business idea. I cannot take credit. As a matter of fact, the introduction to the ESOP and to the players came through a divine appointment.
Absolutely.
And so I have to give glory to him. I'm doing right now what he wants me to do, and that is educate as many people as business owners as I can. First of all, you're blessing the people that helped you build your business. And in turn, there are so many blessings for you and your staff. It's a win-win-win for everybody involved. And so I can't thank you enough for inviting me on your show to tell my story, because.
But this is why I do this, because I really feel like there needs to be a resource bank that people can go to find information like this that's just not readily available. I mean, I am a personal development junkie, and I have heard of ESOPs, but again, never thought it was anything that I should personally look into. And I thinking that I need to look into it. So we'll talk some more about that later. So one of the most best known ESOPs that I'm aware of in the state of Florida is Public Supermarket. Not sure if you're aware of them. Now, from the employee standpoint, and you probably touched on this a little bit, is there evidence that being an employee owner helps with the retention and the end financial compensation?
Yes. And I did touch on the financial compensation with the retirement fund and with the MIP. Those two things are geared toward incentivizing employees, rewarding employees, and the ESOP retirement fund is like a 401k on steroids.
Now, let me ask you this: because I want to make a clear distinction in my head. The original owners have the ability to continue to get their salary while not being active, but the employee who ends up being a shareholder as a result of this new structure. Let's say you had in a case of Publix, a bag, the person who bags the groceries, they get shares because they're an employee, but they decide to leave. Now, is there a way for the company to get those shares, force the sale, like they don't leave as an external person, still have ownership since they're not the original owners?
So the trustee is the one that manages the shares and owns the shares. They are an outside entity that actually report to the government. And I do want to back up and correct something here. The original shareholder that stays on with the company in their position still works for the company as an employee. They still do their job, so they don't get paid without doing their job. It's no different than the employees.
Sure.
Okay, so they're still doing their job, they're still getting a salary, plus they're getting paid out for their shares. So their shares have been valued at X, okay? And they're being paid, either they finance the deal or the bank paid them. And it can be customized either way, okay?
So Patty, for me, I don't think I'm having an issue with the original owners, but let's say, for example, or is this only for the original owners? Is this in other words, let's say like Public supermarket, they're constantly hiring new people. They're constantly hiring new people. And I don't know if they say if you work 6 months, suddenly you qualify for stock or whatever the case may be. I'm talking about down the road, now that you're an ESOP, you take on a new manager, a new supervisor, a new whatever. Can they become shareholders? And if they leave, what does that look like for the ownership of shares?
There's a vesting period that I had mentioned before.
Okay.
So you have to, and it's typically 3 to 6 years before you're 100% vested. So when you leave the company, whether it be retirement or you've decided to do something else with your career, okay? As long as you're vested, you can take that money with you. That's when it triggers the buyout. But you do need to be vested, and then the company buys your shares back.
Okay. So you have to be vested, and then the company, it does return to the company if you're no longer there. Okay, perfect. Yes. Now, what size company would an ESOP work for? Clearly, it needs to be more than one, at least. It appears to me it needs to be more than one. So if a solopreneur is watching this, they haven't grown, they're still a solopreneur, there's clearly no point for this. But you have 3 or 4 partners, co-owners, or whatever. What is the minimum size, so to speak?
15 employees, and that has to be W-2 employees, not 1099.
Okay, good to know that. Now,
and then there's no limit on the maximum amount.
Okay, but 15 W-2 employees first. Okay, perfect. Yep. Is there anything else you think we should know that maybe I didn't ask?
I think we've covered everything.
All of a sudden, I can't hear you, Patty.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, wonderful. I think we've covered everything.
Okay.
It's a gift. The employees do not have to pay for the shares. They do not have to take a reduction in salary. This is literally a gift to the employees. Whereas with a 401k, they put money in, the company matches it. Okay, so let's talk about a 401k for a minute. If you're a company and you have a 401k, we had a 401k at Helix, and we chose to keep the 401k so that the monies that were in there, the investment funds for the employees, stayed in there. They can continue to contribute to that 401k, but we don't match anymore because we're putting our resources into the ESOP retirement fund. Now, a business could do both. There's no rule one way or another. If you wanted to keep that 401k, you wanted to continue to contribute to that and the ESOP, you could do that. You could do away with the 401k. We didn't see any reason why we had to get away or do away with the 401k. So we kept it so that our employees had an investment vehicle that they could continue to use in addition to what we were doing.
Amazing. I really am excited that we've had this conversation today. I truly am. So Patty, how can others follow up with you if they want more information or to explore maybe your services or the ESOP option? What would be the best way to connect with you?
I have a website, excellegacygroup.com. And my email is Pattie with an I at excellegacygroup.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, so they can connect with me that way. My phone number is 414-750-2885. 2901. If they'd like to call, I'd be happy to walk them through the initial stage, if that's what they would like to do, to find out if this is a good fit for them. One thing that I will say is that not every attorney firm, accounting firm, investment firm are ESOP experts. And one of the things that, and this is something that I personally ran into with my company, and I've run into it with other companies that I'm working with, is that if the accounting firm or the law firm or the financier doesn't know a lot about ESOPs, they don't necessarily promote them. And in fact, in our
They might
case,
even discourage it.
I was just going to say, in our case, they were discouraged. Another thing that I have heard out there, now this is not my experience, because when we were referred to our team does this every single day. That's what they specialize in. So they already have every key member in place. Whereas if you try to do this on your own with an attorney, I have heard companies say it was just too complicated and we moved away from it and sold to a third party. You need an expert that has all the key players in place. Otherwise, it will be overwhelming. And we never ran into that at Helix because the company that we were referred to had every key player in place. And so even though there are a lot of moving pieces, they had all the experts to help us through each and every one of those processes.
Well, there you go. Pattie Plugh, the ESOP Evangelist. I really appreciate you being on. So guys, as you're listening, if your organization has 15 or more W-2 employees, and this is something that you would like to explore, Pattie has given us her contact information. Simply rewind this show and just listen to that again. But Trudy Behrman here of PSI TV. It's just been an awesome opportunity to chat with my friend Pattie and to share the ESOP opportunity with you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.
Thank you.